the candles, anything. But I couldn't move. My body felt frozen. Not from fear, but from recognition. They were calling me again. Alia. Alia. That was the name my mother tried to bury. The name hidden beneath Elin. The real me. The mutia burned hot against my skin. Then came the voice, not from outside, from within. Awaken. And in that moment, I understood. They weren't just coming to kill me. They were coming to claim me. Because I was born from the curse. The mutia on my chest burned like fire. My breathing was shallow. I could hear the screeching outside, closer now. The windows rattled. The air inside the house felt poisoned, filled with fear and something older, ancient. I looked at Isha. Her lips trembled. She held the herbs tightly, but her hands were shaking. The candlelight flickered violently. I wanted to tell her we'd be okay, that this was just the storm before the calm, but I couldn't lie to her. Something had changed, not just outside, but inside me. The name, Alia, still echoed in my mind. I had tried to deny it, bury it, pretend I was just Elin, just a poor girl from the edge of town. But that name felt like a key, a name passed down, hidden in blood, a name the Aswangs whispered like a warning. Alia, Alia. I stood up, the mutia glowing brighter now. I felt power stir in my veins, not strength but memory, of something locked away. Suddenly, the floorboards creaked, but not from outside, from inside the house. Isha stepped back quickly, eyes wide. They're already here. No, I said slowly, turning toward the hallway. Something else is. A shadow passed by the door. Not fast, slow, deliberate. I raised the mutia and stepped forward, heart pounding. My voice barely came out. Who's there? The figure emerged. It was my mother, alive, wearing the same dress from the photo. Her face pale, lips cracked, but her eyes were clear. Mama. I whispered. Isha gasped behind me, unable to speak. My mother nodded. I couldn't stay hidden anymore. I ran to her, tears spilling down my cheeks. I hugged her tightly, but something was wrong. Her skin, it was cold, like stone. You left me, I whispered. Why? She didn't hug me back. Her arms hung stiff by her side. Because I had to, she said. I made a deal. You weren't supposed to awaken. I stepped back, confused. What do you mean? Awaken what? She looked at the mutia. You are the last vessel. The Aswangs, they don't want to kill you, Alia. They want to crown you. The floor beneath my feet felt like it collapsed. What? She stepped forward, voice flat. The curse was never about punishment. It was about inheritance. You're not just fighting the Aswangs. You're meant to lead them. I shook my head. No, I'm not like them. But you are, she said. Your blood. Our blood. You were born under the same moon. You've already started changing. My stomach turned. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you stay? Because I was afraid, she said, voice trembling now. Afraid of what you might become. Afraid you'd hate me for what I did to survive. I backed away, shaking. You left me to figure it all out alone. And now you want to warn me. Her expression changed. No longer blank, but pained. No, I came to stop you. Behind her, the front door suddenly flung open. The wind howled in, and in the doorway stood another woman, dressed in black, eyes glowing red. Not an Aswang, my grandmother, but not as I remembered her. Her face was cracked like dried clay, and her hands were covered in ash. Enough lies, she said. Alia must decide. I froze. My mother stepped back. You were supposed to be gone. I was never gone, Lola said. I stayed in the dark to protect what remained. But now it's too late. Isha screamed as the windows shattered. The salt lines scattered into the wind. Shadows spilled into the house. Not just one or two, but dozens. The Aswangs had arrived. They surrounded the house like a flood, hissing, clicking, whispering, but they didn't enter. They were waiting for me. The mutia burned so hot I had to tear it from my neck. It landed on the floor, glowing so bright the shadows pulled back for a moment. Lola walked toward me. You can end this, Alia. Either embrace the crown or destroy it. But I don't want any of this. I shouted. I didn't ask for it. She touched my face gently. No one chooses the blood they're born with, but they do choose what to do with it. Behind her, my mother raised her hand. She's not ready. She's already becoming, Lola whispered. I stepped back, confused, torn. So what am I? A monster? A weapon? You are the key, Lola said, to their rise or their end. Then, without warning, the mutia cracked. A sound like lightning echoed through the house. The air twisted. The ground trembled. A deep, echoing voice filled the space. The binding is broken. I fell to my knees. Isha screamed. My mother covered her face. And outside, the Aswangs roared. Lola whispered something in an old tongue and vanished into ash. My mother collapsed, breathing hard. They'll come now. All of them. The last seal is broken. I crawled to the mutia, now split in two. Inside the crack was something pulsing. Not a stone. A heart, beating slowly. I looked at Isha. She stared at it with horror. That's not magic. That's alive. My hands trembled as I reached for it. The moment I touched the heart, a flood of memories hit me. Not mine, but from another time. Battles. Blood. A crown of bones. A girl standing alone on a mountain, her hands covered in light. Me. Or Alia. The truth crashed into me like a wave. I wasn't just the next in line. I was the beginning. The original. My mother looked up weakly. You died once, but your spirit was reborn in me. I carried you. You weren't supposed to remember. Outside, the moon began to rise. The sky turned blood red, and the Aswangs began to chant. Alia, Alia, Alia. I stood, holding the cracked mutia, the heart pulsing in my hand. Isha whispered, "What now?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I think they're waiting for me to decide." And as the door creaked open and the shadows stepped forward, I took one breath and stepped outside to meet them. The blood moon hung high over the treetops, casting a red glow across the ground as if the earth itself was bleeding. The chanting of the Aswangs echoed through the forest, low, guttural, ancient. Alia, Alia, Alia. I stood at the threshold of the house, the cracked mutia in my hand, pulsing like a second heart. My breath was shaky, my legs numb, but something inside me, something old, held me upright. Behind me, Isha was crying softly. My mother sat collapsed by the altar inside the house, clutching her stomach. Everything I loved, everything I thought I knew, was falling apart. And yet, I had never felt more awake. The crowd of Aswangs parted slowly as one figure stepped forward from the darkness. He was tall, wrapped in blackened bark and bone. His eyes were not red like the others, but silver, glowing with a cold, cruel intelligence. The others bowed as he approached. "You have returned to us, Alia," he said, his voice like wine through the graves. "I am not yours," I said, though my voice trembled. "I was born free." He smiled. "You were born cursed. You are the soul of our queen, reborn in flesh. Your blood called us. Your heart awakens us." I raised the mutia. "Then this ends now." He chuckled. "You would destroy your own legacy?" "I'd rather destroy everything," I whispered, "than let monsters wear my name." At that moment, the heart inside the mutia began to glow brighter, too bright to look at. A wind burst outward from it, knocking the front row of Aswangs backward. They screeched and scattered like crows. I felt it, something inside me unlock. Not just power, but memory. Of a lifetime before this one. Of standing at the center of a burning field. Of commanding the creatures that now surrounded me. I felt my knees gasping. The truth hit me like fire. I was Alia. Not just a name. Not just a cursed soul. I had created the Mutya. I had sealed away the darkness once. And now, that seal had been broken. The silver-eyed leader stepped closer. Embrace who you are. Let us. I stood slowly, the Mutya floating just above my palm now, its light blinding. I was your queen, but I became your prison. He stopped smiling. Then you truly have forgotten everything, he hissed. No, I said. I remember enough. And with that, I slammed the Mutya into the ground. The moment it touched the earth, a wave of blue-white light exploded outward. It tore through the air like lightning, shattering branches, slicing through shadows. The chanting stopped. The Aswang screamed, covering their faces, burning in the glow. But the silver-eyed one stood firm, unaffected. He raised his hand, and the light stopped, frozen mid-air, like time itself had been chained. You cannot destroy us, he growled. You are made of the same darkness. And then, I felt it, a tug inside me, not physical, spiritual. The power inside the Mutya, it wasn't only meant to destroy. It was meant to transform. He was right. I was born from the same darkness, but I could choose what to do with it. I'm not the girl I was before, I said, but I carry her soul. And she made one last choice. I closed my eyes, and I let go. The Mutya shattered in the air. The heart within it burst, not with blood, but with light. A light so pure it turned the red moon white, so loud it drowned out every whisper, so deep it reached into the roots of the forest, into every shadow, and burned it clean. The Aswang screamed. One by one, they fell, not in pain, but in silence, as if they were being returned to something older. The fog lifted. The trees stopped groaning. The chanting ended. And then I saw him, the silver-eyed leader, still standing, still breathing, but now afraid. You cannot erase me, he spat. I am what's left when love is lost, when family betrays, when blood calls to blood. I know, I whispered, tears rolling down my cheeks. And I forgive you. He stepped back, confused. What? I took one step forward. You were born from pain, but I was born from hope. And even hope can end a curse. He screamed and rushed forward, claws outstretched. But before he could touch me, the light from the broken Mutya surged one last time, straight through him. His body turned to ash, and the forest was silent again. I collapsed to the ground. Isha ran to me, her arms wrapping around me, crying into my shoulder. You did it, she whispered. I didn't answer, because I wasn't sure what I had done. My mother crawled to us, weak but alive. She looked at me not with fear, but with awe. You've ended what we were all too afraid to face, she said. You've broken the blood. And then, the sky turned blue. The moon faded back to silver. The curse was over. But even then, something felt unfinished. I stood up slowly, walking to where the silver-eyed enemy had stood. Nothing remained. No bones, no shadow. Just a small stone, shaped like a tear. I picked it up, and in the faint wind, I heard it. Alia, there's always another shadow. I closed my fist over the stone. The battle was over. But the war, maybe not. The forest was quiet now. No more chanting, no more howls, just the wind brushing softly through the leaves and the distant sound of morning birds returning after a long, terrible night. I stood there, barefoot on the earth that had once carried the weight of a curse. My hand still held the small stone left behind by the silver-eyed one, a single tear-shaped remnant of the darkness that had nearly consumed me. Behind me, Isha helped my mother sit down on the front steps of the house. Her breathing was shallow, but her eyes were clear. No more secrets, no more shadows between us. For the first time, I felt the weight leave my shoulders. But what I felt next wasn't relief. It was a quiet, deep sadness, the kind that comes after surviving something that changed you completely. The curse was broken. But I was not the same girl who arrived at this house. I wasn't just Elin anymore, and I wasn't only Alia. I was both. The morning sun slowly climbed above the trees. Isha stood beside me, arms crossed, her face tired but calm. "They're really gone?" she asked, still unsure. I nodded. The Mutia was the last seal. When I broke it, I didn't just destroy their power. I set their souls free. She looked at the trees. "I don't hear them anymore. I don't feel them watching. They were tied to me." I whispered. "Now, they're not." Isha glanced at the tear-shaped stone in my palm. "And that? What is it?" "I don't know," I said honestly, "but it feels quiet, like an ending, or a warning." We stood there in silence for a moment, letting the air breathe around us. Then she spoke gently. "What will you do now?" That was the question I didn't want to face yet, but I knew the answer was waiting. "I think I need to stay for a while, fix the house, read more of Lola's journals, understand the power I carry, and make sure no part of that darkness ever returns." Isha nodded. "I'll visit, even if my mom freaks out." I smiled, finally, a real smile. "I'd like that." She squeezed my hand, then walked back to the house to help my mother rest. I stayed outside a little longer, listening. The forest was healing. The trees no longer whispered threats. They simply swayed. The fog had lifted, and even the birds seemed braver now. I found myself remembering all the strange pieces that led me here. The old photo, the trapdoor, the Mutia, the dreams. How everything felt broken. How I had felt broken. But in the end, maybe this was what it meant to survive. Not to go back to who you were, but to move forward with everything you've learned. That night, after Isha left and my mother fell asleep, I sat by the altar one last time. The cracked journals were still there, and beside them, a single sealed envelope I hadn't noticed before. It had my name on it, or rather, Alia. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a letter written in my grandmother's handwriting. "If you are reading this, then you have faced what I feared most. I am sorry for what we did, what we left you to carry. We didn't know if your power would return, but deep in my heart I knew it would. You are not a monster, my dear. You are a protector. The Mutia was never meant to chain you. It was meant to remind you that even in darkness, light can be born. I hope, in your own time, you will forgive us. And I hope, most of all, that you will forgive yourself." I wiped my tears gently. Not all pain fades at once, but some words help you breathe again. I placed the letter beside the tear-shaped stone and whispered, "I forgive you, Lola. I forgive all of you." The house felt lighter that night. I could sleep without the weight on my chest. No voices in the walls. No red eyes watching. Just peace. Over the next few weeks, I began fixing what was broken. I cleaned the house, repaired the damage, and started planting herbs in the garden like my Lola once did. I even painted the walls in soft colors. Not to forget what happened, but to remind myself that this was my home now. People in the village stopped avoiding me. Some came to offer help. Others came with stories about my grandmother, about my mother, about the old days. I listened. I thanked them. Even Nanong Celia visited once. She touched my forehead and said, "You carry light now. Hold it close." And I did. Isha came often, bringing food and stories and laughter. She never asked me for details about the battle, and I never forced myself to tell her. Some things we just carry together in silence. My mother recovered slowly. We talked late into the nights, about everything she had never said. She apologized many times. I cried many times. But we healed, together. One morning, I returned to the tree behind the house, the place where the shadows used to linger. I buried the tear-shaped stone there, not as a threat, but as a promise, a reminder that light, no matter how small, always leaves a mark on the dark. And then I walked back inside, stronger, wiser, whole. The curse was gone, but my story was just beginning. The end.